Hello. So last week I didn't do any video because I had a death in my family. So that's how I would sign it. You would say a death. You do say someone died, but some people, if they're not from your area, may not understand that. But if someone does that, oh, someone in my family, someone passed away in my family, someone died. But you could say, oh, someone, my family, someone, died. Oh, I'm so sorry. So here's the things that you don't say. You say, oh, was it someone that was, close to you or close to you, your close relative? I would ask that question. And then the next one I would say would be, I said, what you should say and what you shouldn't say. So you could say, oh, I'm so sorry. Was this expected? Was this something that you expected? I wouldn't say, because many people go, oh, were they sick, or was it an accident, or something like that. And you can say, which family member, because even if it was like an aunt or uncle, you could be really close to them. I was close to one of my aunts and uncles, who were really close, like a second parent, so to speak. And my grandmother was very close to. So you can kind of say that. So I would ask first, oh, someone close to you, or close to you, attached, connected with, close. Not close, this is close in proximity. So it just depends on how you want to do that. This is connected. Oh, is someone close to you? Yes, it was my grandmother or whatever. Oh, did you expect this? No, wasn't expected. Because sometimes people don't want to talk about how that person died. If they said yes, they were expected to pass away, they had been sick a long time, so that they can expand on it themselves. Or no, it was not expected. So you don't really know what happened, but that doesn't matter, because you're just expressing your sympathy and say, oh, I'm so sorry. I know that's really tough. You can say, I've had a tough time. This also can mean bone, but it's like, because it's like just really raking, that's what it is. Like, it's really scratching your face, really raking. But I would say, oh, that's tough. I'm so sorry. And you allow that person. And I think sometimes we are well-meaning, or we want to really be involved. We ask all these questions. Like, oh, how did that happen? Or were they sick? And because when my son died, people say, oh, were they sick? Expecting me to say yes. No. Oh, car accident? No. I just don't want to talk about that. But I think it would be better to say, oh, was their death expected? No. Oh, I'm so sorry. I know that's tough. It's really hard. If it was, and it's hard anyway, but if it was expected, maybe you're going, it's still a loss, but you kind of knew that they would pass. So I wouldn't ask all those little kind of detailed questions, even though you're thinking, oh, I know them, or I'm well-meaning. I had a friend a long time ago. This is something I did wrong, and he was robbed. And they killed him. And I was asking her some questions. He was in the military, and he did have a gun, and he did have money from his business. And he was taking that money to the bank. And there was two people that knew him, and they knew what time, and they robbed him. And he had it in his briefcase. And he tried to struggle with them, and he had his gun, and anyway, they shot him. And I asked some questions. Don't do that. And I was trying to be, well-meaning, and some people do that. So one of the things you do not say is, well, like if, oh, was it my son? Oh, was that your only son? Well, really, what difference does it make? It doesn't matter if it's my oldest son, my youngest son, my only son. And if you say, no, it was my middle or my second son, it was my middle child, my second son, they go, oh, well, at least you have, another son. And they're not trying to make offense. They're just trying to, I think, help you feel better. But I thought, what difference does that make? I still lost a son, a child. It doesn't matter where in, the birth order they were. It doesn't matter if it was my only son and they say, oh, I had a friend that lost their only son. Like that's worse. And do you have more children? Yes. Oh, well, at least you have the other children. Right? I think they're trying to be well-meaning, but really it doesn't make a difference, especially if you've lost someone. It doesn't really matter, right? It's like it didn't matter if I had 10 children. If I lost one, I lost that person. But I think they're trying to make you feel better that like, well, you have more children that you can show love to or whatever. But I would, just from my own perspective or my own experience, I wouldn't say that. I would say, oh, I'm so sorry. You could say, you could say, do they have brothers or sisters? How are they doing with this, right? Not the fact that you have more children. I would probably ask, oh, did they have a brother or a sister? And you can say, oh, yes. Well, how are they doing with that? I would ask that because you're trying to express concern about the people that are still alive, that still have to have this grief. It's not that, oh, well, you have more, right? Or if my son died, did he have a family? Did he have a wife or children? No. Oh, that's good. You could just kind of leave it like that. I mean, if they had a wife or children, you can say, oh, I'm so sorry that they have that loss to, endure, bear. That's kind of what that sign is. So I think that we have well-meaning statements that we make, and we don't realize that the person that's suffering is like, what? Why are you saying that? What difference does that make? And it doesn't. So those are things not to say. But I would say, oh, was this expected death? No, because I remember one when my late husband was in the ICU in the hospital. There was a preacher that was going by the ICU, and he talked to me, and he says, and he asked me, he goes, was this stay in the hospital expected, or was the ICU expected, like if they had surgery or something like that? And I said, no, it was not expected. And then he was able to show more sorrow, So because sometimes you do expect an ICU or hospitalization or a death. You do expect it if they've been sick for a long time. I have a friend and her daughter passed away, but she had been sick with cancer for like 10 years. So it was not unexpected, but still it was this big loss because apparently she was this, I had never met her, but I've only heard just these wonderful things about how wonderful and happy she was all the time, regardless of her illness. And so it's still a big loss, right? Even though they've been sick, it's still a loss. It doesn't matter. So I would always ask, is this expected? Oh, did they have a brother or a sister? How are they doing? Or how are you dealing with this? And that's how facing it, suffering, or how are you dealing with it? How are you enduring? Suffer, I would probably do 2 hands. How are you enduring it? How are you doing? How can I help? What can I do to help? Sometimes it is bringing food, like if they're upset and they can't or feel like cooking. Or sometimes it's just kind of sit and discuss it or whatever. Just ask, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How are you doing today? So I think there are some ways that you can do positive. Like I said, I don't think anyone means to be offensive or insulting. This is the same sign for insulting or offensive. But they want to say something that's comforting, but sometimes we don't know how or what to say. And so I just kind of wanted to give you a few things that you may want to say that may be helpful. Or you could say, oh, is there a service? And have that question look on your face. Is there a service? No, or yes, but it's private, only, close family, or whatever. Or we're just having a graveside service, only just a few friends and family members. Oh, okay. So, you could ask those questions if you wanted to go, but let that other person tell you or give you more information. And they can't think as clearly, can't think as straight. So no important decision should be made. So anyway, those are the things that are my advice. I know I kind of went back and forth to positive and negative and positive and negative. So bear with me. So practice with your hearing friends and your deaf friends, and they may show you some signs that they prefer or that they use. So I will see you later. Bye.